protesters killed in Iran. You said we were locked and loaded, ready to go. What is the line there for when the U.S. is going to get involved in those protests?
We'll take a look. We're watching it very closely. If they start killing people like they have in the past, I think they're going to get hit very hard by the United States.
Can I just add something?
Iran is on the verge of collapse, and this is just days after the U.S. took out Maduro in Venezuela. Now, protests have been going on for over a week. Last night was the 8th night of protests, but things have really accelerated ever since President Trump warned Iran not to shoot, not to kill protesters. He's reiterated numerous times that if Iran takes lethal action against the protesters, then the U.S. will get involved. And ever since President Trump first said that, and he's again confirmed that multiple times, the protests in Iran have really swelled. Just take a look. Last night, the city of Hamadan was captured by these protesters. Keep in mind that these aren't protests like we see here at home in the States. It's not as if they're making posters, taking to the streets, and then going home for the night. No, they are actually pushing out the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. So that's what I mean by they're taking over these cities. And it's not just Hamadan. They've spread to dozens of cities around Iran specifically. We do know that they've been protesting in 78 cities, over 222 specific sites as well. And they are surrounding Tehran. Tehran, the capital of Iran, is in the north central part of the country. So you can see here the protests are going closer and are surrounding its main capital. Now, whether or not the country is going to fall, we have yet to see. But one of the best predictors, it turns out, has been these betting sites, whether it's Polymarket or Kalshi. Time and time again, these betting sites have been more accurate than the pollsters, more accurate than the so-called experts. And just overnight, the odds of Khomeini being out of Supreme Leader of Iran this year skyrocketed to over 42%. Now, we'll see if this is just a blip on the radar or if this is the beginning of a new trend, if this revolution is really going to take hold. Now, here is footage of one of the headquarters of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard being firebombed by Molotov cocktails and protesters really just taking over the area. Part of what makes this so impressive is that in Iran, they don't have a Second Amendment. They don't have the right to bear arms. Now, of course, there are going to be guns on the black market or through terrorist organizations, but it's not as if the average person in Iran can buy guns and ammunition whenever they want. So they've been pushing out the Revolutionary Guard with makeshift Molotov cocktails, whatever weapons they can find or make. And yes, in some cases, that even includes just stones, throwing rocks at them. Now, to really showcase just how quickly the vibe is changing in Iran, we've all been used to seeing over the last few years, not years, but decades, we've seen footage coming out of Iran of huge crowds of, the radical Islamists chanting death to America, death to Israel, right? They want to see the end of the United States, but that's not what these crowds are chanting. What these crowds are chanting is death to Khomeini, who is the supreme leader of Iran. Now, obviously, as you can tell, especially from this clip, the footage coming out is really grainy. They don't have, free speech like we do. And obviously, the infrastructure for things like the internet just isn't as robust as it is in the United States or in Western countries. But I am happy that we're still able to get footage from the country. Now, things really are looking bad for the regime there. Just take a look at these headlines. BBC protests and U.S. warnings shake Iran at its weakest point in years. According to Newsweek, Iran fears new U.S. attacks as protests grip nation. Now, the New York Times actually had the opportunity to speak to some senior officials, and those officials said, at least 3 of them, quote, that the leaders were in survival mode. So this really, I don't think that this is just hopium and copium and that this is just a flash in the pan. It really seems like this could be something different. And again, President Trump threatening Iran, which essentially I would imagine would be encouraging to the protesters on the ground, feeling like, hey, the United States will come in and save us, or, not foreign interventionism in the traditional sense, but in the sense that, hey, President Trump has warned the leaders of Iran. He just took out Maduro. He may take action here. We don't know. It doesn't have to be some sort of prolonged war, but I imagine that has to be a feeling of relief and inspiration for people on the ground. Well, the Western Journal now reports the Trump effect. One day after Maduro capture, reports say Iran supreme leader preparing to flee country to Moscow. So we'll see whether or not it's true. Now, it's not just my speculation as to whether or not people on the ground are actually thankful for President Trump and his threats to the regime. There is this street. It is called Gorgy. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Gorgy Street. And if you take a look at this, they have actually renamed it to Donald Trump Street. So it's very clear. They put up their own signs here calling it Donald Trump Street. So it's clear that, he is inspirational to them and that maybe they're hoping that he's going to live up to his word and, protect protesters if Iran has actually done anything. And by the way, they have. Protesters have been killed by the regime. Now, before I get into all of that, I would like to thank the members of today's Governors Club. They are Anthony Loki, Houston Sammy Girl, good to see you as always. Happy New Year. Andy's Girl and Conserva Girl Cleo. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. I'm so glad that you're here and I'm glad that you enjoy. Now, as of the making of this video, it appears that at least 20 people have been killed by Iran's regime. If you look at different Western sources like Reuters or the Associated Press, they'll use numbers like 9 or 7, but they're referring to specific incidents. But if you go down this rabbit hole, and if you especially take a look at news sources from within the Middle East itself, the minimum number they cite is usually 18 or in most cases 20. So that's what I'm saying here on the channel. And so it really raises the question now. We do know protesters have been shot and killed by the Iranian government. So President Trump said he threatened them. If you shoot protesters, you may be struck by the United States. You may be struck really soon. So that raises the question, is the U.S. actually going to do something? And even on CNN, they were talking about how in the aftermath of the U.S. actions in Venezuela in regards to Maduro, countries like Iran and Russia, well, they have got to be on their toes.
Tell me how this news is being received in Iran. How's it being received in Russia? How's it being received in China?
All 3 predictably will deplore this kind of activity publicly. Privately, they will be impressed with the military capability here. I would argue none of those 3 militaries could have executed an operation like this. And again, we tend to just breeze by this. But the idea of finding, fixing, kidnapping, taking him out alive with his wife, no casualties on the side of the U.S., that's an extraordinary military operation. So I think while there will be a lot of public condemnation of the United States, predictably from those 3 nations, privately they'll be saying to themselves, that's a very capable military. That's not a bad thought to pop up in Beijing, Moscow, and Tehran these days.
And by the way, I don't think it's just the leaders who are thinking that. I think the people on the streets, the people who are protesting, the people who are taking over these cities, I think they definitely feel that. They definitely at least seem to believe it, especially when you take a look at the timeline. Like I said, these protests have been going on for over a week at this point, but you take a look at how quickly they've accelerated. Sure, there's been the grassroots movement on the ground, but it really seemed to swell immediately after Maduro was taken out. As always, though, all of this is just my analysis and commentary. This is what's happening in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So, President Trump did strike Iran last year. He struck Fordo, the nuclear military sites. Would you support a similar strike? He did threaten the regime in Iran. He said, if you shoot, if you kill protesters, you may be struck very soon by the United States. Well, guess what? Iran has done just that. So, do you think President Trump should stay true to his words? Should he follow through on that threat, or are you on the side of, hey, too much intervention, let's just stay out of it? Let me know where you are down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.